The galaxy was quiet. It had been quiet for 10,000 years. Commander HFY stood in the control room of his ship, looking out at the stars. His body was made of living crystal, tall and sharp like a mountain peak. Blue light moved through his transparent skin as he thought. He was an architect, one of the 3 ruling species of the galaxy. The other 2 species were the Luminari and the Collective. The Luminari were beings of pure energy who lived inside metal shells. They glowed with different colors when they spoke. The Collective was stranger still. They were once many different species, but now they shared one mind through machines planted in their bodies. Together, these 3 species ruled everything. They called themselves the Hegemony. HFY had served the Hegemony for 300 years. In all that time, he had never questioned his orders. Why would he? The galaxy was peaceful. Every species knew their place. Every world followed the same rules. Those rules were written in the Codex. The Codex was more than just a book of laws. It was the way things had always been, and the way things would always be. It told every species what technology they could build, which planets they could live on, and how they should behave. The most important rule in the Codex was the isolation protocol. When a new species learned to travel between stars, the Hegemony would find them. They would study them. Then they would decide what to do. Most species became vassals. They would serve the Hegemony and follow all the rules. They would give up their weapons and their independence, but they would be safe. They would be fed and protected. Some species tried to fight. Those species were destroyed. There had never been a third option. HFY's second-in-command approached him. This was Officer Kethmer, younger and smaller than HFY, but still deadly. "Commander," Kethmer said, his crystal voice ringing like a bell. "We have new orders." HFY turned. "Show me." A screen appeared in the air between them. Words in the ancient architect language glowed blue. HFY read them quickly. "Another primitive species," he said. "How many is that this cycle?" 47, Kethmer replied. "This one calls themselves humans. They come from a yellow star on the galaxy's edge. They achieved faster than light travel 6 months ago." HFY nodded. This was normal. Every few years, some species would figure out how to move between stars. Usually, they were excited at first. They thought they would meet friends among the stars. They never expected the Hegemony. What is their classification? HFY asked. Kethmer's light dimmed. Category 7. HFY was quiet for a moment. Category 7 meant immediate destruction. No contact. No negotiation. Just death. What did they do? He asked. Kethmer sent more information to the screen. Pictures appeared. Images of the human homeworld, their ships, their cities. The evaluation team studied them for 3 months. They found the humans too dangerous to keep alive. HFY looked at the pictures. The humans looked weak. They were small, soft creatures with hair and pink skin. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. They look harmless, he said. That's what makes them dangerous, Kethmer explained. They don't follow patterns. Other species build technology slowly, carefully. They test everything many times before they use it. Humans just try things. They take risks. They change their minds. They argue with each other about everything. More pictures appeared. Human cities that looked nothing like each other. Human art that made no sense. Human weapons that shouldn't work but did. Look at this, Kethmer said, pointing to a picture of a human spacecraft. They built this ship using 17 different technologies. Some of them are thousands of years old. Some of them were invented last week. No logical species would do this. HFY studied the ship. It was ugly and awkward, like someone had glued different machines together. But according to the data, It could travel faster than most hegemony ships. They also feel too much, Kethmer continued. They have emotions for everything. They get angry at strangers. They feel sad for animals. They love things that don't love them back. The evaluation team says these emotions make them unpredictable. Unpredictable how? They might fight when they should run. They might help their enemies. They might try to change things that have worked fine for thousands of years. Zexai nodded slowly. This was the real problem. The hegemony had spent 10,000 years making the galaxy stable. Every species knew their role. Every technology was tested and approved. Every planet was organized and peaceful. Humans sounded like they would ruin all of that. Where are they now? Zexai asked. One of their ships left their home system 3 days ago. It's moving toward the Kepler system. 50,000 humans on board, trying to start a new colony. And our orders? Find them. Destroy them. Leave no survivors. Zexai looked at the pictures again. 50,000 humans, families, children, scientists and teachers and farmers, all hoping to build a new life among the stars. For just a moment, something strange happened. Zexai felt uncomfortable. He had destroyed other species before. It was always clean and quick. They would try to fight or run, and then they would die. Simple, but these humans looked so hopeful in the pictures. So excited to explore space. They reminded him of how he felt when he first saw the stars. He pushed the feeling away. The hegemony knew best. The Codex had kept the galaxy peaceful for 10,000 years. Some things were more important than feelings. Prepare the fleet, he ordered. Set course for the Kepler system. Yes, Commander, Kethmer replied. How many ships should we bring? Zexai thought about it. Humans were Category 7, but they were also primitive. 6 ships should be enough, he said. We'll be back in a week. As his ship turned toward the Kepler system, Zexai looked at the stars one more time. Soon, there would be one less species in the galaxy. The peace would continue. He told himself this was good. He told himself this was right. But deep in his crystal heart, something small and bright had started to grow. Something that felt almost like doubt. Captain Sarah Chun had dreamed of this moment her entire life. The bridge of the Endeavor was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Through the large window in front of her, she could see Kepler 442b floating in space like a blue-green jewel. Beautiful, she whispered. Her crew agreed. After 18 months traveling through the darkness between stars, they had finally reached humanity's first new home. The planet looked perfect, oceans and clouds and land that could support human life. All sensors show the planet is clear for landing, reported Lieutenant Torres from his station. No signs of intelligent life. No cities, no technology, no radio signals. Sarah smiled. 50,000 people slept in the ship's cold storage, waiting to wake up and start new lives. Families who wanted their children to grow up under alien skies. Scientists who wanted to study new worlds. Farmers who wanted to plant earth crops in alien soil. This was humanity's big step into the galaxy. Their first time leaving home. Sarah felt proud to be their captain. Begin wake-up procedures, she ordered. Start with the essential crew. We'll have everyone awaken, Captain. Torres's voice was sharp with fear. We have contacts. 6 large ships, coming in fast. Sarah's stomach dropped. Where did they come from? They just appeared. No warning, no signatures on our sensors. They're surrounding us. The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Sarah moved to the captain's chair, her mind racing. Earth government had told them this might happen. Humans weren't the first species in the galaxy. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations might be watching. Are they trying to communicate? she asked. Yes, Captain. Text message coming through now. Words appeared on the main screen. They were in English, somehow. Sarah read them out loud. Unknown vessel. You're in violation of Galactic Codex Section 7, Subsection 12. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. The bridge was silent. Sarah had prepared for many things. Equipment failure, asteroid strikes, getting lost in space. She had never prepared for this. Captain, Torres said quietly, their weapons are locked onto us. Sarah stood up. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice stayed calm. Open a communication channel. Visual if possible. Channel open. A face appeared on the screen. Sarah had seen many strange things in her life, but nothing like this. The being looked like it was made of blue crystal, tall and sharp. Light moved through its transparent skin like water. I am Commander HFY of the Hegemony Enforcement Fleet, it said. Its voice sounded like music played on glass. You will surrender your vessel immediately. Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. Humanity's first conversation with alien life. Commander HFY, she said, trying to sound respectful. I'm Captain Sarah Chun of the Earthship Endeavor. We're honored to meet you. We didn't know this system was claimed. We're just explorers looking for a new home. HFY seemed surprised. Most species either begged for mercy or started shooting. This human was talking to him like they were equals. Your species is classified as a galactic threat, he said. The Codex requires your immediate termination. Sarah felt cold. I don't understand. We haven't threatened anyone. We've never even met another species before. What did we do wrong? This was the moment that changed everything. No species in 10,000 years had ever asked that question. They always knew why they were being destroyed, or they didn't care. But this human genuinely wanted to understand. HFY found himself answering. Your species is too unpredictable, too emotional, too willing to change things. You don't follow proper development patterns. But we're peaceful, Sarah said. Look at our ship. We're carrying families and children, not weapons. We just want to explore and learn. That's exactly the problem, HFY replied, but his voice sounded less certain. You explore without permission. You learn without limits. You change without authorization. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she asked something that broke HFY's crystalline mind. Who gave you permission to explore? Who authorized you to learn? HFY stared at her. In 300 years, no one had ever asked him that. The hegemony had always existed. The Codex had always been the law. He had never wondered where it came from. The Codex has always, he started. Someone wrote it. Sarah interrupted gently. Someone decided that exploration was dangerous, that emotions were bad, that change was wrong. But what if they were wrong? On HFY's ship, Officer Kethmer was getting nervous. This conversation was taking too long. These humans were confusing his commander with their strange questions. This wasn't how executions were supposed to work. Commander, he said, we should end this now. But HFY was still thinking about Sarah's question. What if they were wrong? What if the hegemony's perfect order wasn't actually perfect? While the two commanders talked, something terrible happened. A small human shuttle had launched from the Endeavor. It was carrying families who wanted to see the alien ships up close. Children who had never seen anything but the inside of their colony ship. Kethmer saw the shuttle and panicked. In his training, any approaching vessel was an attack. He fired before thinking. The shuttle exploded in a flash of light. Sarah watched her people die. Families, children, gone in an instant. HFY expected her to scream, to cry, to attack his ship in hopeless rage. Every species reacted to loss the same way, with violence or despair. Instead, Sarah did something that shook him to his core. "I'm sorry," she said. "Zexhi's translator must be broken." "What did you say?" "I'm sorry," Sarah repeated. "Your officer was scared. He thought we were attacking. I should have warned you about the shuttle. This is my fault, too." "Your people are dead," Zexhi said slowly. "We killed them." Sarah's eyes were full of tears, but her voice stayed steady. "Yes, and I forgive you. But I need you to understand something. We will remember this. We will tell our children about this day, about the first time humans met aliens, and how fear made us both make mistakes." She paused, looking directly at him through the screen. "We forgive you, Commander, but we will never forget. And we will never let fear win again." Zexhi's fleet left the Kepler system that day without destroying the Endeavor. For the first time in 10,000 years, a hegemony execution had failed as his ship jumped back to hyperspace. Zexhi couldn't stop thinking about Sarah's words: forgiveness, memory, hope. These were not words in the codex. Maybe that was the problem. The Council of Three met in the heart of hegemony space, inside a massive station that had floated between the stars for 1,000 years. The meeting room was dark except for 3 sources of light. First was Elder Veshtani, speaking for all architects. Her crystal body was ancient and powerful, filled with the wisdom of ages. Second was Prime Node Zeta 7, the collective mind of billions of collective drones. Third was Radiance Kellanara, a being of pure energy wearing a shell of golden metal. They were discussing the human problem. "Zexhi failed," Elder Veshtani said, her voice like grinding stone. "The humans still live." His report was unusual. Prime Node Zeta 7 replied. Its voice came from everywhere at once. The humans asked questions. They spoke of forgiveness. "These concepts are not in our databases." Radiance Kellanara flickered between colors. Red for anger, blue for confusion. "One species cannot threaten the hegemony. We control 10 million worlds. We have ruled for 10,000 years. "Perhaps," Elder Veshtani said. "But look at what has happened since." Images appeared in the air around them. Reports from across the galaxy. Each one told the same impossible story. 3 days after the Kepler incident, human ships had appeared in the Rigel system. Not warships, cargo vessels and medical ships. The local vassal species, the Ketherons, had been struggling with a plague that killed their crops. Their hegemony overseers had told them to accept the deaths and reduce their population. The humans had different ideas. They shared crop rotation techniques from their homeworld. Prime Node Zeta 7 reported. Simple knowledge, but it saved millions of Ketheran lives. The Ketherons had never seen outsiders offer help without asking for payment. More images appeared. Humans in the Vega system helping reptilian miners improve their equipment. Humans in the Altai system teaching aquatic species new ways to purify their water. Always helping, never conquering. How do they travel so fast? Radiance Kellanara asked. Our reports say they appear everywhere at once. Elder Veshtani's light dimmed with anger. They studied the debris from Kethmer's attack. Somehow, they learned our technology from the broken pieces. But they didn't just copy it, they improved it. This was the part that scared the Council most. Hegemony technology followed strict rules. Every ship was built the same way. Every engine worked by the same principles. Every weapon had been tested for 1,000 years. Human technology made no sense. They took hegemony jump drives and made them faster by adding their own computer systems. They took hegemony shields and made them stronger by changing the power flow. They mixed old human ideas with new alien science and created things that shouldn't work but did. Their ships are faster than ours. Prime Node Zeta 7 admitted. Their communication systems reach farther. Their medical technology saves lives we would consider unsavable. But they're primitives, Radiance Kelenar protested. They've only had space travel for months. That's what makes them dangerous, Elder Veshtani replied. They don't know that things are impossible, so they do them anyway. The real problem wasn't human technology. The real problem was human ideas. For 10,000 years, the vassal species had served the hegemony without question. They worked in the mines and farms. They built the ships and weapons. They stayed quiet and followed orders. But now they were hearing new words. Words like freedom and choice and equality. The humans didn't treat vassal species like servants. They treated them like friends. They asked for their opinions. They shared their knowledge. They said crazy things like, every being deserves respect. Show them the rebellion reports, Elder Veshtani ordered. New images appeared. 17 worlds were in revolt. Not violent rebellion, something worse. They had simply stopped following hegemony orders. The Catharans had refused to increase their food production. When their overseers demanded an explanation, they said, the humans taught us that we can say no. The Rigel miners had formed something called a union and demanded better working conditions. When threatened with punishment, they replied, the humans showed us that workers have rights. The Vega scientists had stopped sending their research to the hegemony. Instead, they were sharing it freely with other species. The humans told us that knowledge belongs to everyone, they said. Thought it was spreading like a virus. Every day, more vassal species heard about the Star Shepherds, the humans who asked, what do you need? Instead of, what do you owe? We must act quickly, Prime Node Zeta 7 declared. The humans must be destroyed before more species are infected with their ideas. I agree, Radiance Kelenar said, now glowing pure red with anger. But how? They don't stay in one place. They don't build permanent bases. They just help people and move on. Elder Veshtani was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in a voice like breaking mountains. Changed their classification. Category 9. Extinction level threat. The other two council members were shocked. Category 9 had never been used before. It meant that the threat was so great that any methods were acceptable to stop it. You want to deploy the Purifier Armadas? Prime Node Zeta 7 asked. If necessary, Elder Veshtani replied. We will destroy every world the humans have touched. Every species they have helped. We will burn away this infection before it spreads further. That could mean billions of deaths, Radiance Kelenar said. Better billions than the end of order itself, Elder Veshtani answered. The Codex must be preserved. The hegemony must endure. But even as they planned humanity's destruction, the council members felt something they had never experienced before. Doubt. What if the humans were right? What if the Codex was wrong? What if 10,000 years of peace had really been 10,000 years of slavery? They pushed these thoughts away. The hegemony was perfect. Order was everything. The humans would die, and the galaxy would return to normal. Far away. In a small ship traveling between the stars, Captain Sarah Chun received a message from Earth. Her government was proud of her. Humanity's first contact had been difficult, but they had made friends among the stars. Keep exploring, the message said. Keep helping. Show the galaxy what humans can do. Sarah looked at her crew. Former enemies were now working side by side. A young Catharan taught human children about alien mathematics. An old Rigel miner shared stories with human engineers. A Vega scientist and a human doctor worked together to cure diseases. This was what the galaxy could be. Not perfect order, but beautiful chaos. Not rigid rules, but endless possibility. The humans didn't know about the Purifier Armadas coming for them. They didn't know about their Category 9 classification. They just kept doing what humans do best. They kept helping. They kept learning. They kept hope alive in a galaxy that had forgotten what hope felt like. And in the darkness between stars, something ancient and powerful began to crack. The Purifier armadas were weapons of terror. Each ship was the size of a small moon, built to destroy entire worlds in minutes. For 10,000 years, they had waited in the darkness, unused because no threat had ever been great enough to wake them. Now 12 of them moved through space toward the human stronghold of New Terra. Admiral Dexcar commanded the fleet from the lead vessel. She was collective, her mind linked to a million other voices. Together, they had calculated every possible human response. The humans would run, or they would fight and die. Either way, this would end quickly. But the humans had spent the past year doing something the collective couldn't calculate. They had been talking, not just to vassal species, but to individual hegemony officers. They sent messages to young architects who questioned the codex. They spoke with luminari, scientists who dreamed of exploring forbidden knowledge. They even reached out to collective drones who secretly wondered what it would feel like to think for themselves. Commander HFY had been one of their first converts. After the Kepler incident, he had filed his report and tried to forget about the humans. But he couldn't stop thinking about Captain Sarah Chun's questions. Who gave the hegemony permission to rule? What if the codex was wrong? One night, while his ship drifted between stars, HFY received a private message from Sarah herself. "Commander," it said, "I know you're troubled by what happened. I wanted you to know that we don't blame you. We blame fear. Fear made us all make mistakes that day." She paused, her image flickering on his private screen. "I've been thinking about our conversation. You asked who gave us permission to explore. I want to ask you something else. Who gave you permission to stop asking questions?" That message changed everything for HFY. He began to notice things he had never seen before. How vassal species looked at him with fear instead of respect. How his own officers followed orders without understanding why. How the galaxy had grown silent and small under hegemony rule. He wasn't alone. Across the hegemony, others were waking up. Lieutenant Senna, a young luminari who had always wondered why her species wasn't allowed to study black holes. Engineer Vex, a collective drone who had started thinking his own thoughts. Captain Murhai, an architect who remembered when her people used to build art instead of weapons. When the Purifier armadas launched, they found something impossible waiting for them at New Terra. The human colony world was protected by a mixed fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships flew alongside Ketharan vessels. Rigel mining barges had been converted into weapons platforms. Vega science ships carried shields powered by impossible human-alien hybrid technology, and leading them all was Commander HFY in his architect cruiser. Flying under a human flag, Admiral Dexcar stared at the fleet through her ship's sensors. A million voices spoke at once. This cannot be. Hegemony ships do not fight against the hegemony. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from the enemy fleet. It's from Commander HFY." HFY appeared on her screen, but he looked different. The cold blue light that filled all architects had changed. Now he glowed with warm white light, like a star. "Admiral Dexcar," he said, "I know you. We served together in the Andromeda campaign. You were a good soldier then." "You are a traitor," Dexcar replied, but her voice sounded uncertain. "You have betrayed everything we stand for." "No," HFY said gently. "I've remembered what we used to stand for. Before the Codex, before the hegemony. When we explored because we were curious, not because we were ordered to." Behind him, Dexcar could see something that made her collective mind struggle to understand. Humans and aliens working side by side. A Kevran child teaching a human how to read alien numbers. A luminary scientist sharing data with a human engineer. Former enemies laughing together. "This is chaos," she said. "This is freedom," Zexai replied. "And it's beautiful." The battle that followed was unlike any in galactic history. Not because of the weapons or tactics, but because of what happened while they fought. The Purifier armadas had overwhelming firepower. They began destroying the mixed fleet systematically, ship by ship. But every time they killed someone, something strange occurred. The humans didn't just mourn their dead. They kept fighting for them. When a Ketharan ship was destroyed, human pilots risked their lives to rescue survivors. When a Rigel mining barge was crippled, human engineers flew through enemy fire to repair it. Most importantly, they kept broadcasting. Not propaganda or threats, but stories. Stories of the friends they had made. Stories of the wonders they had discovered together. Stories of what the galaxy could become if everyone was free to explore and dream. Admiral Dexkar found herself listening to these broadcasts. Her million voices began to argue with each other, something that had never happened before. "The humans are weak," some voices said. "They waste resources on sentiment." "But they fight so hard for each other," other voices replied. "When did we stop caring about individual lives?" "They violate the Codex. What if the Codex is wrong?" For the first time in her life, Dexkar was thinking her own thoughts. The battle turned when something impossible happened. Human ships began protecting damaged hegemony vessels. When a Purifier's engine failed, human rescue ships moved in to help the crew escape before the ship exploded. "Why are they saving us?" a young collective officer asked. "Because that's what friends do," a human pilot replied over the radio. That's when Dexkar's fleet began to fall apart. Not from damage, but from doubt. Officers who had never questioned orders began to wonder why they were killing people who only wanted to help. Lieutenant Senna, the young luminary, was the first to switch sides. She powered down her weapons and asked for permission to join the mixed fleet. "You'll be court-martialed," her captain warned. "I'd rather be court-martialed than be afraid of my own thoughts," Senna replied. Within hours, half the Purifier Armada had either surrendered or switched sides. The other half retreated, their crews too confused and conflicted to continue fighting. Admiral Dexkar was left alone in her flagship, surrounded by the people she had come to destroy. They could have killed her easily. Instead, they sent her a message thought it was from Sarah Chun, now an admiral herself, her hair gray from years of exploration and wonder. "Admiral," Sarah said, "you fought bravely today. Your people died protecting what they believed in. I respect that." She paused, looking directly at Dexkar through the screen. "But I want to ask you something. When you were young, before you joined the collective, what did you dream about?" Dexkar's million voices fell silent. Deep in her memory, she found something she had forgotten. A little girl on a distant world, looking up at the stars and wondering what was out there. "I wanted to see everything," she whispered. "I wanted to learn about every world, meet every species, discover every secret the universe had to offer." "So did we," Sarah said. "That's all we've ever wanted. To see and learn and share what we find." Dexkar looked around her ship. Her officers were watching her, waiting for orders. But for the first time, she saw them as individuals instead of just parts of the collective mind. "What happens now?" she asked. Sarah smiled. "Now you get to choose. Join us or go home. Either way, you're free to decide for yourself." The hegemony's greatest weapon had become its greatest defeat. The Purifier Armada was gone, not destroyed, but transformed. And across the galaxy, beings who had never thought for themselves began to wonder what freedom felt like. The end of the hegemony didn't happen with explosions or invasions. It happened with a simple question asked on a million worlds at the same time. Why do we follow these rules? When the Purifier Armada failed, The Council of Three tried to send more fleets, but their officers refused to fight. Some asked to negotiate with the humans. Others simply resigned and went home to think about what they really wanted. Elder Veshtani stood alone in the council chamber, her ancient crystal body dim with defeat. Prime Noan Zeta 7 had disconnected from the collective network, choosing to think as an individual for the first time in centuries. Radiance Kalinara had abandoned her metal shell and disappeared into the energy fields between stars, seeking answers in the cosmic background radiation. The Great Station, that had been the heart of galactic government for 1,000 years, was empty except for maintenance robots and one very old architect who couldn't understand how everything had changed so quickly. The answer was simple. Humans had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten. Hope, not the false hope of the Codex, which promised peace in exchange for freedom. Real hope, the kind that said things could always get better if people worked together. Sarah Chun, now 75 years old with silver hair and laugh lines around her eyes, stood on the observation deck of the Unity. It was the first ship built by the new Galactic Federation, not a government that ruled from above, but a partnership between equals. The ship itself was a miracle of cooperation. Its hull was grown using Ketharan bioengineering. Its engines used improved hegemony technology. Its computers ran on hybrid human-alien software that no single species could have created alone. But the real miracle was the crew. Architect children played with human toddlers in the recreation areas. Young Luminari taught art classes to anyone who wanted to learn. Former collective drones worked alongside beings they had once conquered, building new technologies that served life instead of order. Captain Chun? A voice asked behind her. Sarah turned to see Commander Zexhai approaching. He looked different now, smaller somehow, more humble. His crystal body glowed with the warm light of someone who had found peace. Just Sarah now, she said with a smile. I retired, remember? You young folks are in charge now. Zexhai laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. I'm over 300 years old, Sarah. And I'm almost 80, she replied. But look around us. We're the old generation now. The future belongs to them. She pointed to a group of teenagers working on a science project near the window. There was a young human girl with bright green hair, an architect boy whose crystal skin showed rainbow patterns, a Luminari child whose energy form shifted between different colors, and a former collective drone who had chosen her own name, Hope. They were building something together. Sarah couldn't tell what it was, but they were laughing and arguing and creating in the way young people always had, across every species and every world. Do you ever regret it? Zexhai asked quietly. All the chaos we've caused. The old system was stable, predictable. Sarah was quiet for a moment, thinking about all they had lost and gained. The hegemony's fall had not been gentle. Millions of beings had to learn how to make their own choices after lifetimes of following orders. Some worlds had struggled. Some species had fought among themselves when their hegemony overseers left, but other things had happened too. Art had exploded across the galaxy as beings discovered they could create whatever they wanted. Science had leaped forward as researchers shared knowledge freely. Music and stories and poetry flowed between worlds like rivers of light. Look there, Sarah said, pointing to a distant star system visible through the window. Zexhai followed her gaze. The Vega system? 3 years ago, they were strip mining those asteroids for the hegemony. Now they're building gardens in space. Living art that grows and changes and sings in the solar wind. She pointed to another star. Rigel used to be slave labor in the deep mines. Now they've built the galaxy's greatest university. Beings come from everywhere to study engineering and philosophy and cooking. And the Ketharan worlds? Music, Sarah said simply. They discovered they love music. Did you know they can sing in frequencies that make plants grow faster? Human farmers are working with Catharam musicians to create the most beautiful farmlands you've ever seen. HFY nodded. He had seen all of this in his travels as an ambassador for the new Federation. Worlds that had been gray and uniform under hegemony rule now blazed with color and creativity. The children don't even understand the old way, he said. Hope asked me yesterday why anyone would want to rule the galaxy. She couldn't imagine wanting to control other people's thoughts. Good, Sarah replied. That's exactly right. The moment we start thinking we know better than everyone else, we become the thing we fought against. As if summoned by her words, hope drifted over to them. She had been born as a collective drone, but when the network fell apart, she had emerged as an individual with a brilliant mind and an artist's heart. Sarah, HFY, she said excitedly. Come see what we've built. The group of teenagers had finished their project. It was a small device that projected images in the air, but not just any images. These were memories. We took memory crystals from architect technology, emotional resonance patterns from luminary research, and human dream recording techniques, the young architect boy explained. Now anyone can share their memories with anyone else. Watch this, Hope added. She touched the device and suddenly the air filled with her memory of the first time she had chosen her own name. The joy of that moment, the fear and excitement of becoming an individual, washed over everyone nearby. The human girl activated her own memory, the first time she had seen an alien world, the wonder and beauty of standing under foreign stars. The luminary child shared the memory of her first successful energy painting, color and light dancing in impossible patterns. This is beautiful, Sarah whispered, tears in her eyes. You're sharing the best parts of yourselves with each other. It was Hope's idea, the architect boy said. She said that if everyone could feel what it's like to be someone else, wars would be impossible. HFY looked at Sarah with amazement. They're solving problems we didn't even know existed. That's what young people do, Sarah replied. That's what we all do when we're free to try new things. As they watched, more crew members gathered around the memory device. Former enemies shared their happiest moments with each other. Beings who had never understood other species suddenly felt what it was like to see the universe through different eyes. An old collective admiral shared the memory of holding his first grandchild. A luminary scientist showed everyone the beauty of a star being born. A young human engineer let others feel the satisfaction of fixing something that everyone said was broken. This is it, Sarah said quietly. This is what the galaxy was meant to be. She looked out at the stars, each one shining brighter than it had under hegemony rule. New ships moved between them, not warships or cargo vessels, but exploration craft and art installations and mobile schools that brought knowledge to the farthest worlds. We didn't conquer the galaxy, she realized. We freed it. We showed everyone that they could be more than they were told to be. HFY nodded. The galaxy is burning. Yes, Sarah agreed. But not with the fire of war. With the fire of possibility. Every star system is alive with new ideas, new dreams, new hopes. A message arrived on the ship's communication system. It was from Earth, now just one world among many in the Federation. Sarah's great-granddaughter was getting married to a young architect-artist. The wedding would be held in space, with guests from 100 species. Will you go? HFY asked. Of course, Sarah said. I wouldn't miss it. Besides, I want to see what kind of music a human architect wedding band sounds like. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, new species were taking their first steps into space. When they arrived, they would find not conquerors or judges, but teachers and friends. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. And for the first time in 10,000 years, Everyone was free to explore them. One execution that became a conversation. One era that sparked a revolution. One species that asked why. And changed everything. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't technology or tactics. It was the simple, radical idea that things could always be better than they were. The universe itself seemed to agree. The stars burned brighter, as if they too had finally learned to hope.